Hey now, welcome to Drink, Eat, Travel. This is an honor for me. This is exciting as a beer nerd to have a true Belgian brewer from a true lambic brewery. I'm here with Bruno Reinders. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, correctly.
From Mort Subite. If you don't know Mort Subite, keep watching this. Even if you do, keep watching this because it's going to get delicious. And look at this handsome gentleman. Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you for coming to talk to us. Welcome to America.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk a little bit about Mort Subite. Tell us about the brewery, when it began, and then let's vet you and talk about how great you are.
The brewery, so we know that it's more than 400-year brewery in Copenhagen. So it was actually from 1604.
1604, okay.
That's more than 400 years. So it was a family brewery until 1989. Then one of the two brothers sells his shares. It was 50% with Alkenmaas. Alkenmaas was a part of Kronenbourg in France. So then Scottish Newcastle came in 2001 and they buy Kronenbourg France with Alkenmaas.
Okay.
And they don't want the situation anymore 50-50. So the other brother decided even to share his part. So we were from 2001 100% Alkenmaas. And then in 2008 Heineken and Carlsberg they made a consortium. And we were going with Alkenmaas to the Heineken group.
That's excellent, and I'm really glad you mentioned that because I was going to get to that eventually, but let's let the cat out of the bag with that one. You're talking about sort of corporate ownership and going to these things like this, and as we'll taste the beers, I want to allay sort of fears because I think in terms of breweries and the way we perceive them in America, we're sort of anti-corporation a little bit. Like we fear, they're going to dumb down the beers. They're going to make them less than what they were.
No, totally not.
And that's
totally
why I like talking, because we're going to taste the beers, and I've had them before. And talking that, you can speak from an experience. And you've been there, how long have you been at Mort Subite?
Next month, 26 years.
26 years. That's that's longer than I've been alive. Not really. But it's about the age my liver is. Let's just say that.
Okay.
I've been drinking for about 26 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So in that amount of time, you've really seen it go from sort of that family brewery, and then now spiritually, perhaps we'll see if it's different. But what it is now is sort of part of a conglomerate. How have you seen that change in terms of how you deal day to day, and then how the product has sort of evolved over that course of 26 years?
In the time of the family, it was a normal brewery. We did everything in the brewery. Then Scottish Newcastle came, and that was a different time. It was really a hard time because the English guys, they were only interested in the financial result, and everything was too expensive, and the product was not so important.
Right.
Then came Heineken, and it was totally different. Different. Absolutely, yeah. And now I'm very proud to work for Heineken. I can show you. Now, first of all, Heineken said you make a quality product,
right?
And from then on, we can start to sell it.
Yes.
And now we're sitting here.
That's wonderful. So, and I think when I talk about craft beer, which I absolutely put you into that category of, the way I look at it is exactly what you said. I think when you look at craft beer, it is let's make a great beer and then figure out how to sell it, as opposed to let's find something to sell and then let's make that beer that sort of fits that mold. And I think that that's what you're doing. I mean, in terms of recipe generation and how you brew, it seems like you're up here in your head thinking about beer.
Yeah, of course, it's a combination of the two.
Sure, you got to keep the lights on, but
you can brew a beer and that you alone say, this is a perfect beer, but nobody wants it.
Right.
The other thing is brewing a beer that you say for yourself, I don't like it, but everybody wants it. No, we try to brew a beer or to blend a beer because it's a lambic brewery.
Right.
We brew lambic, but we blend different beers. I'll explain you later. But it's a combination of the two.
Right.
But you have to be proud of your product. That's step number one.
And always putting yourself into it. I imagine over 26 years, you really, every glass of Mort Subite is a glass of your sort of heart and soul, I imagine.
Yeah, of course. I'd like to give you an example. When it's a Sunday, and you're walking on the beach and you see on the terraces, and what you do is looking what people drinking. Are they drinking Mort Subite or not?
Yes.
Of course. Because in a brewery, you're always busy with your job.
Yes, exactly. It's a very busy job as it is.
Yeah.
Sweaty and
sometimes
lines.
a heavy job.
Yeah, exactly. That's excellent. So 26 years ago, you how did you get into this industry? Had you been in brewing before?
No. It was, I did my duty in the army. Mm-hmm. And after the army, you have to start to work. So I came into the brewery and I didn't know for how long. Mm-hmm. So I started as a brewer in the brew house, and then step by step I did all other things. I go to the brewery school to Brussels, mm-hmm. and then because it's a lambic brewery, it's very difficult. You cannot teaching to learn handle a lambic brewery in university. No,
Right.
it's really you have to know your knowledge, your theory, but the practice you have to do in the brewery.
Right.
And so I learned really everything in the brewery. And so then I was responsible for the production in '98 and responsible for the brewery in 2001. So it was step by
Just
step.
up and up and up.
Yeah.
So when you say you went into the brewery, I mean, for those of us watching at home, they're huge, like I said, beer geeks and beer nerds. Do you know the term beer geek, beer nerd?
Yeah.
Okay. That's us. It's guys doing this, in the corner, like very shakily, trying to warm their beer. We to say that you just jump into brewing. Were you physically brewing when you started out, or were you more like mopping the floors and cleaning out kettles?
When I started, it was brewing, really brewing, but it was also cleaning tanks. It
Sure.
was everything.
Right. Got to start at the bottom and then sort of
start
work your way
to
up.
deliver beer to the pubs, go on a special event, go working on after the bar, and everything. I did really everything to brew.
Now, was it based on geography? Like, why did you choose Mort Subite? Where are you from?
Yeah, I was born 10 kilometers from the brewery, so yeah.
15 kilometers.
Yeah.
That's like metrics. So we'll do like a Chiron. How far that at? 15 kilometers. 6 miles.
Yeah.
Thank you for the guys off camera. I don't know. I was like, I don't know. That's like 2,000 miles. That might as well be. I have no idea. Or it could be next door. I don't know. 15 kilometers.
6
We're
miles.
dumb in America, as you'll find out from talking to me, as it turns out. Especially the more of this I drink. Speaking of this, let's let the cat out of the bag. This is your White Lambic,
Yeah.
the Mort Subite White Lambic, which is phenomenal. We're actually in a few minutes going to talk about each of the individual beers, but I want to start drinking this, so I'm just going to tell people what it is so I can drink it and not have them go, what is he doing? What's he drinking? So wonderful beer. We'll kind of go over. Actually, let's do a little taste profile now.
Yep.
Then we'll go back to me annoying the hell out of you with questions, and then we'll go back to the other beers eventually too. So this is. Here in America, here in Los Angeles, where we're stationed currently, this is one of the beers we can get on draft. I've seen it increasingly around, and it's one of those beers that I think is amazing. It's one of those beers where you can give it to somebody that isn't a beer fan, and they're like, wait a second, you're messing with, that's not beer, is it? And then immediately it sort of clicks with them. So talk to me a little bit about this, how long you've been brewing it, sort of the genesis of it.
But this first maybe we taste.
Yes.
Always.
Amen.
Always start with taste. Cheers.
Cheers.
What you taste now is a very special beer. It's a white lambic. And what is a white lambic? A white lambic is a lambic brewed with spices.
Yes.
How we came to brew this beer is very simple. In the end of the 90s, in the Brussels Café, La Mort Subite, they have 12 grains, and they want a normal white beer. Okay, it was the time of the family brewery. But we were thinking in the brewery, when a client orders a normal white beer, he's not drinking a Mort Subite beer.
Right.
So that's not good. What can we do? So, okay, what can we do? We try to use the spices in the brew house. And then, what's a great difference with a normal white beer, because the ingredients are the same, wheat and malt, white beer too.
Right.
The great difference with a normal white beer is the fermentation. This beer is a lambic beer with a spontaneous fermentation. And the spontaneous fermentation, and typical the microflora of our brewery in Copenhagen, is very fruity, very citrus.
Right.
So the combination of the spices in the brew house and the spontaneous fermentation gives this really unique taste.
Excellent. So sort of the base beer is that wit style, and then really adding that Mort Subite sort of terroir. Are you familiar with that term?
No.
Terroir, I think it's a French term, and I'm probably
Terroir, yeah, I understand. Yeah,
And I
that you
think-
local, yeah.
Right, and I think it sort of affects it, for lack of a better word, with that sort of that Mort Subite terroir. So you're taking a very familiar style and then giving it that twist, because it has that just twang. Is that something I could say? This nice little citric sort of acidic edge to it.
Yeah. It's really a combination of different fruit
Right.
tastes. Yeah, absolutely.
So that style, the wit style, is that an authentic story? We've heard the books we read out here is that Pierre Celis really rescued that style. Is that somewhat apocryphal, or did that really occur?
Actually, the white beer is the basic of the white beer is lambic.
Okay.
First there was the lambic because the ingredients wheat and malt
Sure.
were there. And what Pierre Celis was doing, Pierre Celis was, I think, on the end of the 60s, he's coming to Copenhagen to our brewery. He buy the lambic and started his white beer.
From
Absolutely, yeah, that's no story.
Wow.
That's true.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Really?
And from then on, he started to make his own. And then he buy lambic, and let it fermentate with the culture yeast.
Right.
But the basic of a white beer and the basic of lambic is completely the same. We started with beer from crop beer.
That's excellent. Is this your biggest seller in terms of the beers that you produce?
No, this is not because in Belgium people like sweet beer.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. When the market asks, you have to do it.
Sure.
But the other thing, we have our original lambics, which
Right.
is very important.
Yes.
What's our business card is the original lambics. We are a lambic brewer.
Right. And let's talk a little bit about lambic. You know, I think one of the fastest growing styles is IPA in America, certainly. But beyond that, people are really getting into these wild beers, these spontaneously fermented beers. Talk a little bit about, pretend I'm a moron, which I am, and explain that lambic process and how one does that as a brewery.
What is very typical on our beer, and the reason why the brewery still exists, we have to be honest on that, is our spontaneous fermentation. Normal beers, lager beers, Abbey beers, other beers, there's always fermenting with the culture yeast.
Right.
High fermentation, low fermentation. What we do is the liquid from the brew house, it's Mort, we bring it in contact with the air. So the air of the Zena Valley around Brussels. So we don't add no yeast. We have no yeast in our brewery. So after brewing the wort, we bring it in contact with the air. We pump it in an open tank, full with air.
You're literally pumping in the air.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you do it today, and tomorrow morning you come, you take a sample, looking under the microscope, and you see little yeast cells. And then they start to...
Is there a way, and based on that, you're at the mercy sort of your environment? Is it difficult to sort of keep consistency, or that sort of why blending comes
That's
in?
the art, of course. I say
Right.
always, brewing in our case is an art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's on the level of gourmet
In a
chefs
normal
and everything
brewery,
else.
the grains, they come into the brewery, and 3-4 weeks later, the beer is bottled in, gone.
Right. How do you do that? I mean, is that something that in 26 years you can
It's
literally
experience.
taste and
Yeah,
really
you have to
understand? So
learn
it's
it,
not
yeah.
it's an art more than a science, I would say, to some extent.
Yeah, it's experience.
That's excellent. And then you said you'd gone to brewing school, where obviously you're learning the basics in terms of chemistry and things like that.
Yeah.
How does that art come into effect? Is it that you were sort of under the tutelage of previous brewers, or you really just have to sort of get your repetition in to physically make the beer and taste it enough and understand it to then be able to become what you are now?
It's a process that's going step by step. So, you start to do it alone, and then some people drink your beer and say, wow, fantastic. And so you can, it's growing step by step.
Step by step.
Yeah.
And did you, when you came, you said you were in the military, and we talked before, you had your degree in beer before you got out of the military, as it were, the way I do, trial by drinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thirsty.
I am too. I'm always thirsty, though, because I won't shut the hell up. So when you came out, did you have a taste for these lambic beers, or was that something you came to after the military and upon getting into Mort Subite?
But I knew that I knew the types of lambic beers, I knew Gers, I knew Kriek, the taste, but I was not really so involved. It was really after the army when I really started the brewery. That's
You got the fever.
There was a world that's going open for me.
Right.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's great. And in moving into this, talk about the Belgian culture, and 26 years ago, I'm curious where things have moved since then, as well as where are they now in terms of Belgian beer culture. From a distance, as Americans, we think it's the paramount. It is Mecca for amazing breweries. How have you seen that transition, and how is culture there?
The big difference is now that 26 years ago, beer was beer, but export was not so important for Belgian beer.
Right.
But now Belgian beer is really, the most of the brewers, they really survive with the export now.
This is what I hear. You sell more, I know a lot of lambic brewers, do they sell more beer outside of Belgium than in Belgium?
Our breweries, they sell more, they do more volume and export than local, yeah, absolutely.
And did that, is that a more, like you said, is that a sort of a recent thing, or is that?
Yeah, it's recent, yeah.
Like how long would you say, 15 years, 10
Well, it
years?
started maybe the last 10 years.
Okay. Yeah. So why do you think that is? Is it based on sort of a growing interest in countries outside, or is it there's sort of been a waning?
Growing interest, people like other tasters, but the quality of the Belgian beers too. Mm-hmm. And I think we can be very proud on our products.
Excellent.
In a lot of countries, they try to copy it. Even in Belgium, they try to copy each other, some brewers.
Right.
But it's really the quality of the beer.
Excellent. And I would I would think what I consider Belgium is a really yeast-driven beer, be it wild yeast, or if you look at things that we do now, being like Belgian IPAs or Stone. I don't know if you know Stone Brewing. They did a Belgian version.
Yeah, I was there
Brewer
yesterday
stout.
evening. Yep.
Exactly. So is that so seeing it from two sides, do you have a preference? Like, hey, I think that the best beers come from this lambic fermentation, or you think it's either way is sort of good? And
I can appreciate a white lambic, I can appreciate a creek, I can appreciate an African. It's the moment is very important.
Right.
When you drink it, your beer with your food, or you drink it in the evening on the bar with a couple of friends, or the moment that you drink your beer, you actually make a choice.
Right. Right, and it's situational too, and it's part of, there's a culture to drinking, and there's an ebb and flow of the time you're doing certain things and things like
An
that.
old Geus Mort Subite is a perfect beer to start as an aperitif.
Absolutely.
In place of champagne.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah, so it's really, a sweet Greek beer, it's perfect with the dessert. Yeah, it's,
and this
the
is,
moment of is important.
And I think that's a good dovetail into sort of the last topic I want to touch on, which is the American appreciation of beer. I think the idea of teaching Americans that beer is sort of more than something that you drink, as sort of swill while watching a baseball game. It's so much more elegant than that. I think we're moving that direction. From the outside, now being here a couple days and just sort of perception before you got here, how do you see American beer culture?
I was really surprised from the moment that we arrived on the airport, that we see, wow, there's a lot of interest in Belgian beer.
Yes.
But a couple hours later, we were in shock because we going to a pub. We say, okay, now we were thirsty, the sun is shining, and we 3 different beers and served completely without foam and the glass completely full. I said, when you serve this in Belgium, they kill you immediately. Yeah, I was in shock because the people like the Belgian beers and like different beers and then they serve it so. But you say, whoa,
Yeah.
I think, and how you gonna do it, I don't know. But it's not only the taste of the beer, it's very important is how you serve it, everything, the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's where we need to go next. It's really about education and taking that next step in terms of serving. But I'm glad to see as Americans we're interested in things like just to have the word lambic be a term that Americans know and can use, I think is a definite step in the right direction. So, all right, we're going to taste a couple of beers here in a second. And then I'm really jazzed. This is the best part. Forget my nonsense. You're handsome and charming, but I just want to taste some beers. So we have moved outside for a little drinking in the sun. Ooh la la. Back with Bruno, of course, of Mort Subite, and as charming as I was before, it's about to get better. It's time to drink. So talk me through our beers here. What are we going to start with? And then
I propose that we start with an original Creek.
Excellent.
So this is not the original glass. We have it for the moment only on draft, but
oh, still got some carbonation on draft. That's awesome. So this is one you can get locally in the States on draft. Correct?
Yeah, the foam is not so okay now, but most important thing now this is the taste, of course.
It's going against what you said earlier, but I'm still going to drink it nonetheless.
This is made with Belgian cherries.
Belgian cherries?
Belgian cherries. It's a blend of lambic with Belgian cherries.
Now, is that, there's a type of Belgian cherry, Charbisque? How do you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Is that similar?
Schaarbeeks. So we don't use Schaarbeeks Krieken because they don't exist anymore. We use the varieties Gorsum and Kelleris.
Okay.
But they are local cherries actually.
Excellent.
Local in Belgium is 40 kilometers, not so local, but in your country 40 kilometers is local.
I drive that every day, essentially. That's excellent. So really lovely. And you kind of touch on a little bit in terms of the cherries being local. That is part of the cherry orchards and actually impart some of that character with the yeast and things like that in certain areas, right?
Yeah. So what I mean with local is from we call it in Belgium the same in provincie. You call it state.
Yes.
California is a state.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So they come from the same state, but our states are so small.
Right.
So that's okay. Now, why Belgian cherries? Because they are the best. No, it's very simple. They are the best. We did tests too with frozen cherries. We did tests too with East European cherries. But Belgium sherries, these two varieties are the best.
You don't have to tell me. I was on Cherry Advocate, and they said the same thing. Every magazine about cherries I read says Belgium is absolutely number one. So how do you impart the cherry? Like, how do you physically add the cherries? At what point do you add them? Do you puree them? What do you do?
The cherries arrived with the harvest, normally around 10 July. This year was earlier because we had a very dry spring.
Okay.
And of course, a cherry is a natural product. So yeah, when you have a lot of rain in spring, a lot of sunshine, it's always changing. So they arrived mostly around 10 July. What we do then we had to see that we have young lambic. Young lambic. Why young lambic? The cherries, they are arriving in summer. In summer, it's normally our top period. Then we do the most volumes. Then we don't have the capacity to brew the lambic. So we start to brew the lambic for the cherries around February, March. But that's not a problem because we do spontaneous fermentation and our yeast is wild yeast, Brettanomyces. So the yeast, they're falling in sleep. So the beer is ready, the Brettanomyces is falling in sleep, they don't die.
Okay.
Normally yeast will die, cultured yeast will die.
Sure.
Cherries arrive. What we do then, we have our own construction, an inox stainless steel tank. Inox, we say inox, but it's stainless steel in English. We pump the young lambic from down under. We add the cherries too. We mix it. The cherries, they arrive when they are very, very ripe, overripe. They are full with juices. So we mix them. So they are a little bit broken, and then we pump the cherries. The lambic, with the cherries, including the pit. Pit is very important for the taste.
I think I get like an almond character from the pits, yes?
Very good. You did your homework.
I did. Well, I like to think I'm an amazing taster.
So we pump it in a tank, and we have sometimes that, because you're sitting on an environment temperature, it's summer on 25 degrees, let's say. So we have that in the morning, we fill the tanks, that the same day in the evening the tanks are already in fermentation because we add nothing else.
Right.
It's the young lambic, wheat, malt, water, and cherries. The juice of the cherry, that's enough again to start the fermentation.
Right, because there's natural yeast on the cherries,
the
correct?
Brettanomyces, they see the sugar and they wake up and they attack immediately the sugar. Yeah, but it's
Did
like
you catch the wake up? Oh, that was the wake up face.
to give you an idea, what is actually wild yeast is you have a lion in the zoo and you have a lion in Africa, and they both see a rabbit. And the lion of the zoo, he says, hey, there's a rabbit, and the lion of Africa, he already eaten. Yeah, it's the same with our yeast. A cultured yeast is a yeast of war. Okay, I do my job, but nothing more.
Right.
A wild yeast, a Brettanomyces, is always. What can I add?
It's a hunter.
Yeah, it's a hunter.
It's out there.
I have to.
So talk me through what flavors do you get as the expert? Talk me through what are we tasting here?
This is
some hallmarks of the flavor.
This is pure Greek. This is pure natural Greek. Because when you open your bottle and it's coming from, it's not so natural. So
right.
This is really natural Greek. This is.
And you know what's nice about
Greek,
it?
Sherry.
Yes.
So
And Greek is a word for cherry in.
Yeah, Greek is the Netherlands word for sherry. So sherry beer.
And what's interesting to me about like true lambics like this is the fact that when you taste the fruit, you're tasting what fruit tastes like, as opposed to sort of that synthesized candy kind of fruit flavor. Like this has the complexity of fruit. You get that sort of flesh character, the sweetness, as well as the sort of like slight bitterness to it. It's really nice.
This is a natural beer.
And that's what's key. And this is really nice. So this is great. And then you sell this locally in America as well as obviously in Belgium. Does pretty well for you, I imagine.
Yeah, in Belgium you can. You always must visit Brussels and the Mort Subite. You have this, but we're starting now in America.
Was that an invite to Brussels? Because I will take you up on that. Your house, right?
You're always welcome.
Yes, that's on camera. That's the right answer.
I propose that we taste now original Gueuse. The original Gueuse is a blend of young and old lambic. Actually, Gueuse is never brewed. Gueuse is always a blend of different lambics. So in this case, for our original Gueuse, because we have two types, later we're going to taste the old Gueuse, but we start now with the original. We using 50% young lambic and 50% old lambic, a little bit sugar, not much, to have a good balanced beer, and beer is filtered.
Now let me ask you that. I think in America the way we remember goose versus lambic is L for lambic means lone. This is sort of the mnemonic device that we use, and group is an American word for goose. So that's the way we remember that lambic is a beer on its own, and goose is actually a blend of different. That's sort of the mnemonic we use. So let's dig in and let's taste a little bit.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, good sir. Some really nice aroma on it too.
Malt, wheat, water, a little sugar add, typical sugar for this beer, and filter it, nothing else. Nothing for the flavor, nothing for the taste, nothing.
It's all pure. And
Pure lambic.
a lot of Belgians will use sugar. Is that purely for flavor, or does it help dry out the beer?
Mostly it's for giving body on the beer.
Body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sugar gives no flavors normally. It gives,
Because it
gives a
ferments
little bit
completely.
body, or it can balance it a little bit.
Okay. And you're just using sort of, what kind of sugar do you use? Like palm sugar? Or?
No, it's saccharose. Just normal sugars.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, but the fruitiness, the flavor that you taste here is really coming from the lambic. Because
Right.
Morsebit lambic is typical. When you visit Brussels, you visit our brewery, and then we taste of the wooden barrels, and you can taste immediately the fruitiness. It's typical Morsebit. It's the microflora of our brewing company.
When you talk about the blend, when you say young and sort of older, what are the sort of the ages that we're looking at?
Young is maximum 2 months. Old is minimum 1 year.
Okay.
Between 2 months and 1 year, we never use the lambics. And maximum 4 year.
Okay.
Because when you keep it stored more than 4 year, you gonna have too much sherry taste.
Right.
So the sherry from Spain,
Sure.
not the fruit, but the
Right. Sherry.
sherry. Yeah.
Believe me, I know sherry. Excellent. And so this is one of those beers that is a specialty that you brew. Like, can you only brew this once a year, or is this something
The
that?
lambic for the wooden barrels, we only brew it in winter, and we try to do it when it's very cold.
Right.
When it's, let's say, 1 week frozen, that's the best weather to infect our lambic for storage for many years.
Okay.
Young lambic can we brew a whole year.
And then when you actually do you blend once a year?
We blend, we blend different times.
Whenever they're
Yeah,
ready
yeah,
to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
That's excellent. And then real quick, give me some flavor highlights of this one.
Flavor highlights, I should say citrus, no?
Citrus, very nice.
Yeah, mostly citrus, typical Morsebit, a little bit
is.
bananas maybe.
Right, and well, that you bring up an interesting point, which we'll touch on the next beer, but the flavor element. Think of the word sour. We're going to talk about that in a minute, because when you think of goose most of the time, think about how you hear that word sour. And you're talking about this before. Let's discuss that word here on the next beer, because this is definitely different than what you expect from a quote-unquote sour beer. And I want you to explain that to us here in a second. So this is great, though, by the way. Thank you very much. Time for more beer. Lucky me. Lucky you, too. I imagine you must love tasting your own beers.
That's why I choose for this job. I can always taste it.
Occupational hazard. So what are we trying now?
So now what we're gonna try is an Old Creek with cherries of the harvest of 2010.
Okay.
So the last one because the harvest of 2011 is still in fermentation.
Right.
So
And when you talk about that designation, old or oud, what does that mean functionally?
that means that it's only lambic and the cherries.
Okay.
No juice, nothing for the color, nothing for the flavor, only the lambic. Again, lambic, wheat, malt, water, and fresh Belgium cherries. That's it.
And in terms of that old flavor, is it aged for a certain length of time, or is it just blended with beers that have, or with lambics that have been aged?
No,
for a long
no. This is pure sherry lambic.
Okay.
100% sherry lambic.
Okay.
100% 95 because we need 5% young lambic.
Right.
Because it's beer with a re-fermentation in the bottle and we need sugar. So for that sugar we take young lambic because in young lambic there is still sugar. So that we have a re-fermentation in the bottle.
Excellent.
But I propose that you taste.
And I want to touch on something that's interesting. I've been reading a book. I know me reading, what are the odds? But they talk about lambic, and most people don't know this. There's a lot of talk of lambics and goose in Belgium, but there are actually very few lambic brewers in Belgium nowadays. Isn't that correct?
There are different lambic brewers. I think we are with 8 for the moment.
8? You think
That's
of
all in the whole world.
Isn't that amazing? Like,
Yeah.
you think of Belgium and you think of, like, you go and knock on anybody's door, can I get some lambic? Like, oh yeah, sure, like, we got it next to the butter. But in reality, 8 brewers in the entire world, and they're making the lambic that other brewers will blend to create their goose. But you...
8 lambic brewers, only brewing, I think, 5.
Right.
But with we call it staken in Netherlands. I cannot say just in English how you say it. That are the guys who have the barrels, but they buy lambic in different breweries.
Right.
So they let it fermentate in their own barrels.
Oh, I see. Oh, so it's we're buying the wort maybe they're buying, and then they're okay.
Yeah. They
So
buy
but you're doing this in house yourself, your own lambics,
do everything
and you don't sell that any place else.
No,
this
no,
is the
no.
only place
Yep.
you can get this
Yep,
lambic,
yep.
and it's amazing. So, want to drink up there?
Absolutely. So you see the color, the very intense this color, so it's pure sherry. So to give you an idea, this is 7,000 kilo sherries and 25,000 liter lambic fermented. So that is more than 30% sherries.
And aromatically, like this really like gets you immediately. Like that fruit comes in there, but there's that sort of wild character through there that's beautiful. Really full.
Very dry.
Now the dryness, does that come from, wow, that's great.
All the sugars are fermented.
Is that because you're doing the bottle fermentation or because...
we let the fermentation go, to give you an example, the harvest is in July. First fermentation is until mid-September.
Right.
And then we do a second fermentation till the end of January. Mm-hmm. So that beer is 6 months fermented. And our Brettanomyces, our wild yeast, they're eating everything. So they eat.
Great.
We have wooden barrels that have the fermentation of 100%. Mm-hmm. Our wild yeast eat everything.
Yeah, they're hungry. Yeah. That's great. It's tart, but it's fruity. It's dry. It's beautiful. This is
very
unbelievable. I got to get me some of this. By the way, I'll be raiding your suitcase later. That means stealing. I'm gonna rob you. You're not getting out of here. Right.
You're not gonna do it.
He doesn't seem scared. Is it that I'm tiny and that he doesn't think I'm a threat? Bruno, this is the what we call the martini shot here. The last time that we're gonna be together, unfortunately, and I think we're ending it quite well. I mean, last time together on camera. I will be following you around Brussels, you understand. But the last time we're gonna be together on camera, and I think we've saved sort of the cuvee, if I may, the top dog for last here. What are we trying?
We're going to try the champagne of Brussels, that we say.
Champagne of Brussels.
The old Gueuse Mort Subite. It's 95% of the wooden barrels.
Beautiful.
With an average of 3 years. And 5% young lambic for the re-fermentation in the bottle.
And I think that's cool. I don't think a lot of people know that. Is adding that sort of that young lambic, it really just, it helps wake everything up and allows that re-fermentation in the bottle. So, and that adds, I really get a nice dry character from the last one. So I'm imagining the same thing here.
I propose that you taste. Yeah, sorry, but with the transport, the label is a little bit damaged, but yeah, that's life.
By the way, I love that he goes, I propose you taste. In America, we're like, dude, taste this, bro. It's awesome. It's effing great. You know, here's they propose.
I can advise. No, we are not in the possibility now, but this beer you must try this in a champagne glass on a high feet.
And you used a term earlier because Americans use the term sours, which you smack me upside the head for using.
A product that we're working years on with a blend of lambic of different age. You're not gonna say it's sour when you drink a champagne. Do you say, "Oh, today is a champagne very sour"? No. So it's brut.
Right.
Why we should not use the same names as for a liquid like champagne?
I agree. What do you interpret? Like, what does brut mean to you in terms of how would you?
Brut is dry.
Dry.
Taste. No, I said try. Taste first.
Try it. Oh, it's in the glass. It's brut.
Yes.
Excellent. Cheers.
Cheers. So first taste. But imagine that you taste it in a champagne glass.
Yes. Well, and again, I think we talked earlier about presentation and about just
dry. Dry. No, it's dry. Yeah.
That's really nice. I must get maybe a golden raisin, a nice fruit character to it. And what's beautiful too is, again, that idea that these wild beers are sour. This isn't sour.
No, this is not sour. Is when you say sour, milk that is too old. That is sour.
Yes.
But this people.
My wife, and she's angry at me, that is sour. This is not that. You're not sour with me yet, although I will upset you at some point. This is just beautiful, and I love that comparison to champagne because this is elegant. This goes amazingly well at gourmet restaurants. The presentation of this alone, just the idea of coming in, opening it up with the cork, doing that. And that's something presentation-wise that's big in Belgium, right? Like actually like doing it, the presentation being almost as important as...
It's a part of the ritual.
Right.
Yeah.
And you talked to, speaking of rituals, so glassware is big in Belgium. And this is what another one of the things I'll be stealing from Bruno when he leaves, is the glassware. You have proprietary glassware. When you see this glass, it's Mort Subite, correct?
Yeah, it's typical Mort Subite. Yes, typical.
And you've been making these glasses for how long?
Oh, this glass is, I think, 40 years old, maybe more.
40 years old.
Yeah, and we don't want to change it.
That is really awesome.
This is a Mort Subite glass, but a sherry glass. Okay, now we do this.
It's very different.
But it's...
Excellent. And then we didn't mention it. The name Mort Subite, what does it mean?
The name is actually coming from a dice game. it was around 1920, 1921, in the Brussels Café La Cour Royale, where journalists, employees of the bank, they played it in lunchtime after work. And the loser, they call them in French the Mort, so the dead.
The death, okay.
The dead. And when it has to go quick, they have to go start and work again, or they must go home. It was a very quick game. It was a more Subite, a sudden death.
Sudden
and
death.
The game was so popular that they changed the name of the cafe in à la Mort Subite.
I see. Well, I will call this then our Mort Subite, our final drink, because you have to go rush off to be all important at some beer dinner and kiss babies and shake hands and all that other jazz.
Kiss babies, yes.
It is an honor, it is a pleasure talking to you, Bruno. I cannot recommend your beers highly enough. We need more of them out here, and I like what you do in terms of educating and really like bringing beer to a higher level. It's really great talking to you, and thank you for the beers. Have a great trip home, but
Thank you.
Enjoy yourself while you're here. Cheers.
Cheers.